AI is changing the game of business. We now live in a world where mass customization, personalization at scale is becoming increasingly possible and easy for businesses of all sizes to implement. Welcome to Thrive and Serve, where being our most authentic selves powerfully amplifies our impact. Technology plays such a huge role in that journey. Today, I'm joined by Sarah Cornett, an AI consultant who specializes in helping organizations to grow and to leverage the magnificent power that is AI. Today, Sarah and I engage in a brief conversation where I pick her brains about the state of AI power in marketing, in business. It's a beautiful conversation. I hope you enjoy it. Take a deep breath with me. And let's begin. Sarah, share with me a little bit about your background and like where you've got to where you are today in the world of AI. I'd love to know more.
Yeah, absolutely. So my background is really heavy in data modeling, analytics. So I kind of first, started my career in the banking industry, working as a data analyst and a quantitative analyst for a long time. So building financial models, so building, pricing models, prepayment models, and things like that. I first was introduced to AI working as a quantitative analyst. We found some software that could help you build those sorts of financial models. So it was very eye-opening for me seeing a tool that could build 100 models in the time it would take me as a modeler to build just one. So that was a very eye-opening experience for me, my first sort of foray into AI. And I knew I wanted to do more. I really wanted to learn more and really dive in and really start to steer my career towards AI. So after that, I went to a local startup here in the Charlotte area where I live, worked with an AI company that helped implement solutions, their own custom solutions with their certain clients. So I had a great client, an aviation client, so helping them introduce these AI solutions to help with like personalized experiences. So if you can imagine, you're flying in an airline, you have a bad experience with someone, you want that sort of personalized touch sort of after that. So having someone come and help you out at the gate and meet you to support you with your flight needs. That was that kind of personalization, that personalized touch there. So and really my first foray into identity resolution as well. So you imagine these large companies have, all sorts of vast varieties of data sets, and they're all sort of in different areas of the company, right? They may not, you might have customer ABC stored in one data set, and that same customer might be labeled as 123 in another data set. So it's like, how do you know you're talking to the same person? So that was definitely something I, got involved with and helping with identity resolution. So you get that one sort of golden record of customers. So if I log into a website, if I'm on my phone, if I book a flight through Expedia, different places, that you're still talking to Sarah Cornett. You've got that single view of customer depending, not depending on who you're getting that information from, the different data sets. So that was my first sort of foray into AI. I then ended up back in the banking industry, helping onboard and implement an AI solution for marketing purposes. So this solution really used AI at the core of customer decisioning. So again, taking in that identity resolution is a big piece of it, having all that historical information about you. So we know what products that you have with us, right? We know the last time you logged in, those sorts of digital touch points and that real-time information. So if you are on our website and you're navigating and you're looking at our checking accounts or our savings accounts, things like that, we would have all that real-time information about you so that we could customer decision you and kind of understand what communications that we could be talking to you about in that moment in time. So as a bank, there are, thousands of things that we could be talking to you about in a moment in time, but we want to use those real-time trigger information to make sure we're getting to the heart of your problem or your interest at that moment in time so that we capture your attention and we're able to talk to you about something with the most context and that's most relevant to you in that moment in time. So so that's how we that system, that solution, we would we'd send you either a next best action or a next best offer. So we could either upsell you or cross sell you on a product that we have. So an example of that could be, you might have an auto loan with us. We know you have an auto loan with us at a bank. We know you have a checking account and a savings account. But we've just recently seen, as that real-time stream of information, we've seen that I've recently had a hard pull on your credit. So we've seen, okay, you're looking to do something here. That hard credit pull is a good indicator to us that you might be looking to buy a house. So that's also a product that we offer, right? As a bank, we have a mortgage product. So that's something we would like to offer you. So at that moment in time, we would say, hey, Colin, we see that you might be interested in purchasing a home. Here's our offer for our mortgage product, as an example. Another trigger example could be, say you are locked out of your account, or you've gotten a late charge on your credit card fee or something like that. So we could see those sorts of real-time triggers and say, okay, maybe this is more of a customer servicing type of message we want to talk to you about in this moment in time, just based on, right, we know you're a loyal customer. We want to make sure that you're happy with us and give that kind of customer satisfaction, and kind of continue to have that loyal relationship with our company. So we could say, okay, we're going to give you a break on this credit card fee, this one-time waive of the fee, or we might give you a bonus or incentive or things like that. So those are the sorts of communications that we would be balancing, right? Sort of really balancing the needs of the customer at that moment in time, but also ourselves as a bank, and saying, okay, what do we most need to talk to you about? Do we want to push mortgage products or auto loans, for example? So that was, that was definitely a very interesting sort of piece of my experience, and getting into personalization and that customer experience of dealing with those personalized communications. And so now I've started my own AI consulting company. So I'm really helping businesses from really start to finish, like with their AI journey. So that could be a lot of companies come to me, they don't know anything about AI. They don't know, they know they need to do something with AI, but they are not quite sure where to start or where to begin. There's all sorts of capabilities with AI, generative AI, machine learning, deep learning. There's all sorts of pieces to it. So I try to help demystify, right, the different capabilities and what you can do with these solutions. So that sort of AI education, and getting with the beginning and understanding what are their use cases and pain points. So another service I offer is creating customized AI strategies. So helping companies like onboarding solutions in the most successful way, so they're able to make the most out of their AI solution. I often find companies maybe jump to the shiny new AI toy. They're the new solution that happens to be brand new, today. But that might not solve a core business problem or a core need of your company at that point. So I can help kind of break that down and strategically think how to onboard those solutions. And implementation as well is something I offer. So I've implemented those solutions in the past. I know the ins and outs. There's always a hiccup that's inevitable, right, when you're onboarding these solutions. So the data might not be prepared ahead of time, or your tech stack might not be prepared to handle these new AI solutions. So those are sorts of things that I've learned as being that product owner, product manager, delivery manager role, of understanding how to most successfully implement those AI solutions. So that's where I am now. That's my background in AI.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that colored history of what led you here today. Two
Thank
things
you.
really stood out to what you shared. The first one is the concept that I first learned in business school in the 1990s, like before the internet was even a thing, right? Early
Mhm.
90s. I am that old. And in business school, we learned a concept called mass customization. And in the 60s, 70s, 80s, it was all about like advertising, where you would put an advert on the TV and it would be a single message to a mass audience, right? And the ideal concept was always taught to us as sending en masse, so communicating en masse, but being customized to every individual. So
Mhm.
rather than the glossy ad that goes on TV, it's like, hey, Sarah, look at this product. And we know that you've done this and you've just done that. And
Right.
these are some of those wonderful realities now that you've just shared, aren't
Yeah.
they, around the airport thing and the banking sector,
Mhm.
and just different ways to communicate in a very personalized and tailored, bespoke way to each individual. I find that truly, truly fascinating. The ability that AI gives us to be able to do that, to personalize en masse and customize en masse, so that rather than speaking to millions, we're speaking to a single individual
Yep.
on at scale. That just blows my mind, Sarah.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, it's that one-to-one customer engagement now, right? Back to, we're getting out of that idea of customer segmentation and that like kind of the putting those customers in those sorts of big buckets now. We're really looking at what does Colin most need at this moment in time, right? We're really looking at that one-to-one engagement. And that's only really possible with the power of AI. These other sorts of modeling solutions and things like that are very limited, but now you've got the power of the real-time data and real-time information. You're processing, tons and tons of information at one moment in time, right? You've got all this historical information. We've got all your preferences as well, right? The preference information of, do you like to be communicated through a text message, an email, or a phone call? Do you like a more casual conversation, or do you prefer to have a more professional sorts of tone of voice? Or even it can even come down to the accents, right? It could come down to, you might prefer a British, specific accent. I might prefer a Southern accent, so it can even get down to that level of personalization and detail when speaking to customers. It's really, really incredible.
It's phenomenal, isn't it? And the potential for that is just like crazy. It reminds me of the algorithms that the big social media companies use. So I would be like, I love the outdoors, Sarah, and I'll go kayaking in the lake and things like that. And I'll be in a conversation with my wife about a kayak or something. And then I'll go on Amazon and I'll see the kayak ads are presented to me. So there's like
Yep.
such cleverness in the way that they organize their algorithm in how they present the data feed to you in those
Mhm.
scenarios. And it's kind of like that power is coming to everybody's fingertips almost, isn't it? With what's available now.
It is. I think it's also a good balance of that companies are trying to find, and not being too creepy. That can be a little off-putting sometimes, I think, if you're like, wow, I was just talking about, hairspray or something the other day, and I see the exact bottle that I was talking about in an ad. That can come off as a little
It's
creepy.
free. It is freaky. You're right. It's
Yeah,
freaky.
so it's finding that balance of, how
Quick, go
how
go and unplug Alexa. Go and unplug Alexa.
yeah, exactly. It can feel a little creepy for sure at times,
Yeah.
but it's also finding that balance of not being too creepy in that sense, but like finding ways for customers to be comfortable with that sort of, that data sharing, right? And building trust. That's a very key component that marketers are going to have to find, that balance of being, transparent and open about, the data sharing, right? How are you using that data and information about you in a way that's not creepy, but that's also to your benefit, and being very explicit and transparent about that. I think you're going to find a much better case of building that trust with customers and being more comfortable with sharing that information with different companies. Because yeah, it can come off as a little scary, a little creepy sometimes.
Definitely. And some of the things you mentioned a bit earlier were around the different types of technology. So I'm a passionate AI enthusiast, but I am just an enthusiast. I live in the text interface of these generative AIs, the AIs that create new content based on their learning, things like Chat GPT, Gemini, Claude, and these. And I don't really have any experience in the architecture, the um the tech side of all of it, the computer
Yeah.
systems that run these things, the hardware, the way that they're set up. And you
Yeah.
mentioned a few different things. You mentioned machine learning. Obviously,
Mhm.
we've got generative AI, which is this type something into Chat GPT and get a result back out. But there are lots of
Right.
different types and formats of AI, aren't there? Could you give me like a 101, like a beginner, a dummy's guide lesson?
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure. So yeah, so the no, it's very, very common, because I think a lot of people think that AI is just the generative AI, which is the Chat GPTs and the Claudes and the Bards and all those sorts of systems. But really, what you're seeing, a lot of this is really at the application level, right? And so you've got, I would say at the highest level, you've got something like Jasper, right? It's kind of like uses the Chat GPT interface for that generative AI, those large language models that's kind of housed within a Chat GPT. And now their system is also a closed loop, sort of a closed format, right? So you've got open source formats as well. I think Elon Musk, right, is coming up with his competitor to ChatGPT is going to be more of an open source model. So you've got kind of two different systems there of open source and closed source, but then behind kind of all those levels, you've got the real interfaces of the cloud computing. So this is kind of where like the power comes in, sort of under the hood, is like being able to leverage things like AWS, cloud computing, the Google Cloud, right? Microsoft Azure. If you're operating on any of those platforms, you can really do anything with AI from those sorts of cloud computing sources. So if you want to build a machine learning model, you can do that with AWS, Microsoft Azure. If you want to build a computer vision model, these are different types of AI. Generative AI and natural language processing is just one type of AI. Like AI is really just an umbrella term with all these little different specific capabilities under that umbrella. So definitely Gen AI, natural language processing is one. Machine learning is more of that, like kind of like number crunching. If you think of a giant calculator calculating all these data points under the hood, that's more of a machine learning model. And that's also continuously learning. So in that example of the customer decisioning, right, that we're able to make those customer decisions using machine learning model, but it's also continuously learning. So machine learning is different than like automation. People get those two things confused often. Is automation is more you sort of set it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You do the same things in this specific order. Whereas a machine learning model is constantly learning based on that behavioral feedback, that customer feedback, how they're, how customers are clicking on the offers that we feed them, right? Are they actually taking that initiative for those sorts of actions or offers that we're offering them? So that's how the machine learning model works in a nutshell, is also powered by that feedback loop. Now you've got things like computer vision is also a different type of AI capability. So things like I've seen people put pictures of a cat, right? Pictures of a cat, and it comes back with the word cat. So think of that in a very simplistic form, but they're using things like computer vision really heavily in the healthcare field. So being able to detect things like breast cancer and being able to help with that sort of medical imaging sort of application. Now, you could also use that if you're working in construction, if you're trying to identify nuts and bolts, right, that you have on your factory floor. Like computer vision can help with things like that as well. So being able to identify out of an image, what are the pieces that you see within that image is really computer vision. Things like, deep learning and neural networks, those are very, very complex sorts of features of AI, and they're really more around mimicking the human brain and how a brain makes decisions, and those sorts of neural network sorts of fire off. Those are definitely more complex sorts of capabilities of AI, but as you can tell, there's a lot of layers to this. It's not just like generative AI. I think it's captured everyone's imagination and attention, but it's definitely the first sort of layer of this. But there's so many more things that you can do under the hood to really power your decisioning and your modeling and your ability to make decisions as a business owner, as a company, using all this information that you now have at your fingertips. You can get information in real time now. But generative AI certainly has been the window into all this. But the real power you're going to eventually see out of all this is when companies can stack this technology on top of each other. So you've got maybe a machine learning model in the background, maybe some computer vision involved there as well, but you've got a nice ChatGPT, Gen AI sort of chatbot feature on top of all that. So that's how you can sort of stack these different capabilities together and really be able to drive, tons of new opportunities now, right? This really opens the doors for products that your company may have not been able to previously think about selling to customers, or new ways of exploring the technology. The applications can be used across any industry now. So really any industry, if you're a big company, a small company, you can take advantage of these sorts of solutions today. And no matter what your budget is or anything like that, there's plenty of opportunities to take advantage of.
That is really helpful for me because I've obviously read around some of these things focused predominantly on Gen AI. And so to hear your simple explanation of these things is really useful to me. One of the things that you mentioned was in machine learning, how it differs from automation. So I've got a background in marketing automation, and that's where we would create what's called a customer journey, right? So Sarah downloads this lead magnet. send her 5 emails. If she visits this page, then send this email. If she goes to that page, then send that email. And it's trying to create that personalized journey, but it's very much like Sarah goes through it, Tom goes through it in the same way, Jane goes through it in the same way. It's not learning, it's not adapting. And from what you've just shared, I got really excited because I was thinking about a world where the AI not only creates that journey and that automation, but it learns. Like Sarah spent longer on the page than Tom. So let's send this, let's do this different, and let's add this here. And it can almost self-learn. As marketers, we're obsessed with data and analytics and like testing and all of this kind of stuff. That could almost just be done by the machine, essentially,
It
couldn't it?
certainly could. Yes, absolutely. And definitely, the sorts of specific points, right? The difference in, I'm on a page for a little bit longer than someone else. It really gets down to that specific one-to-one marketing at that level, right? Because right, like you think like a customer journey, it's you're kind of all we're all going through the same journey, we're all through the same buckets, but you can now have sort of offshoots of that and say, people that look like Sarah, act like Sarah. This is Sarah's specific customer journey. She's going to have a much different path than someone like Colin. So it definitely gets you to that personalized experience for sure. And that feedback loop is so key, right? And being able to see, how are you interacting when you do have those touch points along your specific journey of saying, okay, how did you react to something like this or this or this? So you're able to take in that information and continuously learn and just enhance and train your models to be even better. So we get even better about sending you the right action or the right offer in that moment in time.
Phenomenal. I can't wait. And so my next question is like, how do we do this? I know you mentioned Chat GPT and these LLMs, large language models, the generative AI. If you ask somebody on the street about AI, they'll say Chat GPT, won't they now? Because
Yeah.
most people know about it. And it really is the window into a much bigger world, as we've learned today. How close is it for ordinary entrepreneurs, for people running businesses to be able to access this stuff? Because the barrier to entry, like AWS cloud and all of that very technical stuff that you're on about, is feels like it's going to be expensive. It's going to need a lot of time and money investment and specialist skills. Anybody can pick up ChatGPT. I think that's what's made it such a window for people, isn't it? Because it is so accessible. How accessible are these other technologies, such as the machine learning that you mentioned, and how soon will it be until it is like as simple as ChatGPT to use these things?
Yeah, I'm hoping very soon. So definitely when you think of like AWS and Microsoft Azure, like those are big, big, infrastructure sort of, implement within your company. I do know AWS is starting to get into with more startups. It depends on it's very, very particular about who they bring on for that. If you are, if you fit in their specific criteria for a specific startup, they might sort of give you some deals and kind of cut you some slack in onboarding AWS for your smaller business. But definitely things with like HubSpot, has made some strides. I'm very excited about HubSpot's AI roadmap. I'm very, very excited to see the things that are coming down within that platform. I know HubSpot is fairly, simple to get started with and start to sort of build with your marketing strategies within their platform. There's also, things like within the HubSpot app marketplace. So a great example is a tool called Trendymon. So that actually delivers more personalized tiles on a web experience. So think of that more personalized. If I log in, I might see a different tile than you might see, Colin. So that's kind of using that same sort of real-time information and giving that more personalized one-to-one marketing experience within a HubSpot platform. So I think it depends on your marketing CRM system you're using. I know Salesforce has, right, that their next best action tool is definitely one of those more personalized experiences as well. But I have been hearing the rumblings of sort of machine learning as a service. It seems like more companies are starting to look at that as the next thing of having that be more accessible for folks to be able to use that machine learning capability as a service, which I think is going to be incredible for folks to be able to have that ease of adoption and not have to stand up these massive big platforms and getting started. So my hope is that will be coming very soon as a sort of idea of machine learning as a service so that everyone can be able to start to use these tools for their advantage.
That's, I think, going to be the next wave, isn't it? Because we've seen the LLM stuff, and then chat can now do the vision the vision stuff, can't it? It can see,
Mhm.
it can decipher images. I was like handwriting some notes, uploading the photo, and then it would describe the notes and we could have a conversation about it. It was like crazy good. And I think, like you say, there are different layers to this. So as this thing unfolds, hopefully it's going to be a simple execution, not a big giant lift, a big heavy lift to be able to start leveraging some of these things.
Yeah, and I do see a lot more tools are becoming a little bit more business friendly. So you don't have to have, you don't have to code lines and lines and lines and lines of code to be able to get some of these things to work. They're coming up with some more business friendly user interfaces, so you can sort of like drag and drop things into place. So I'm hoping that that continues to take off and continues to expand, so that does become more simplistic for business users to be able to take advantage of that technology and not have to have a PhD in computer science. So hopefully that's going to continue to grow and be able to be easy for entrepreneurs to use, and more business minded business leaders to be able to use those tools.
Sarah, isn't it such an exciting time to be alive?
It really is. It's very, very exciting, and it's a lot to keep up with, I think, right now, because so much is changing and so much is evolving. I was just listening into the NVIDIA conference earlier this week, and they've got these new GPUs now that can just drastically expand the computational power now that we have. So it's just the fact how quick all of this is evolving is just really, really impressive right now. So it's just very, very exciting time to for sure to be alive and be witnessing all this unfold, and just sort of seeing, how we can start to take advantage and start to keep up with all these things and be able to implement these solutions within our own businesses, so we can all thrive and have a chance to be able to thrive off of this new technology.
What a wonderful wrap up. I couldn't have done that any better myself. That was beautiful. I think that, well, that's the goal, isn't it? That we thrive from the use of the technology, and we are able to serve our clients, grow our businesses, and just do things better, faster, further, faster, deeper, better, faster, cheaper, all of those things as a
Yeah.
result of the tech. And that's what truly gets me excited, Sarah. It was yeah, it's crazy exciting times. Crazy exciting times.
Absolutely. I can't wait to continue to see how it all unfolds. So I'll definitely be in the weeds and on the front lines of this, and just making sure I'm, supporting my clients and supporting my team, and making sure we're, able to stay on top of all this and deliver the best results possible for my clients.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today. Really, truly appreciate it. And we'll get you back for part two as we watch this landscape unfolding before our very eyes. Sarah, very quickly, how can people get in touch with you?
Sure. So I'm on LinkedIn. That's the best place to get in touch with me. You can have a link to my website, so you see all of the services that I offer. But I definitely start with LinkedIn, and I can share that with you, Colin, so you can share with your listeners.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sarah. Appreciate you. See you next
Thank
time.
you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for joining me today on Thrive and Serve. I'm your host, Colin Scotland. If you enjoyed this content, please like, review, and subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. And most important of all, go and let your unique light shine in the world in the way that only you can. I'll see you next time.